Welcome to the Nesting Eagles podcast. My name is Drew. I'm here with Beth. Beth, how are you doing today?
Doing all right, Drew.
Yeah, all right. It's been a while since we did a pod, so we got a lot of information. So we're just gonna dive right into it. Starting with our Trampolo nest, let's do a little bit of a background on what happened. They have picked the alternative nest, so they have picked the nest that doesn't have the nest cam on. So it looks like Beth, we're probably gonna have to provide most of the information on what's going on at
Yeah.
this nest because there's no eyes on it as far as the
Well,
video. So
very fortunately, last year, as you will recall, in June or July, still June, I went to my husband and I passed through the area on our way home from seeing family out in Idaho, and we met some people who I passed a note to give to who turned out to be Larry, which is someone that they said knows what's going on with the nest. And so the note got passed. I sent them stellar pictures of the Trampolo nest in exchange for them doing us this favor. And then Larry has now joined our Bald Eagle Nest Watch program, or BENW as we call it, and is recording weekly what is happening at the Trampolo nest, the Minnesota Island nest, and a couple other nests in the area that he could watch safely. And so this is a picture that Larry took, and we checked to see if he was available to go online with us. But what we will do is one of our very next recordings, we will have Larry on either by voice or by or physically or by written word, however
yeah,
he
just an
wants to
update.
present himself to tell the story of what he sees going on at Trempealeau. But this is a picture that he took of that alternative nest, which you screen captured, that shows an egg in the nest. So
Yeah, so
those shifty little buggers got away from those cameras.
they have at least one egg. Again, it's without the nest cam, it's really tricky. And Larry's grabbing, pretty much climbing a bluff to get over the nest to take this picture. So shout out to Larry. He's
Kudos to
very,
Larry.
yeah. But so there's at least one egg in there we know of. There might be more. We just,
There's,
without,
well, there's
yeah.
probably more. They generally
There
don't
probably
lay
are.
one egg.
Yes, yes. And I know, just to backtrack what happened at Trempealeau, there was a chase off of the Minnesota female for a little while, but it appears that she came back. So we don't know exactly what's the dynamic, which makes this nest extremely interesting. Is she on eggs too? We just don't know at this point. And from Larry's observation, it looks like it's mostly the female, or 100% the female. So Mrs. T is incubating this eggs, or your eggs, probably most likely eggs, right now on this alternative nest. We just don't know what's going on over in Minnesota. So it looks like it's pretty much status quo. I think Mr. T might still be nest hopping, but this should be an interesting story. And
Well,
again,
they clearly all know each other very well right there.
yeah,
And for those who might be new to our podcast, last year what happened at Trempealeau is, and this is kind of what our RP has surmised as well, is that he may or may not have been the sperm donor for the Minnesota Island nest, but he definitely was with Mrs. T. So Mr. and Mr. T had three hatchlings, and at the same time, it turns out that MNI, the Minnesota Island nest, had three hatchlings also that hatched prior to the Trempealeau nest. So Mr. was taking food from the Trempealeau nest, oftentimes which Mrs. T had brought to the nest, and was taking it to the Minnesota Island nest. So she would not have allowed that if she wanted that food to stay. So there was some sort of a cooperative nature going on between the three adult bald eagles. But sadly, as a result, because Mr. T was giving the Minnesota Island nest more attention, two of Mrs. T's eaglets died when they were just a couple days old. So the three eagles together raised four eaglets to fledge.
yeah.
So now we're on to this year, and it sort of seems like the same thing is potentially going to happen again, although Larry is going to be the one who knows truly what's going on, because he's got his eyes. If we don't have a camera, at least we have Larry to record information for us.
Yeah, so this Trempealeau nest that was, an Eagle Cam nest has kind of fallen into exclusively a nest watch, a bald eagle nest watch nest for us. So Israel a long, long time ago. That's
Sorry
okay.
about
Well,
that.
yeah, no problem. But yeah, just to refresh, this is going to be a non-Eagle Cam nest, so it'll be a nest watch. We'll try to keep you updated as much as we hear from Larry and throughout the season. Hopefully everything's successful. Looks like they made it through those huge storms that we got in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So that's a great thing. And it's going to be interesting to see what the dynamics is. Does it stay the same, and are both nests productive? Is Mr. T still bopping around the area? And
I do
hopefully,
find it interesting that Mrs. T did try to run off Mrs.
yes.
Minnesota Island Nest. So she seemed to be asserting her dominance that he was hers.
And I think that's a clue, because sometimes you get into that. We'll get into another nest that's actually, it was a trio nest, but that we had in our program as well a few years ago, and I believe still do. But it doesn't look like that dynamics is going to happen where it is exclusively a trio relationship. It's going to be this kind of mixed two nest but three adult type of behaviors. Very interesting. But as we said, we'll keep you updated on that throughout the season. And unfortunately, it's not on the Eagle Cam, but we'll try to keep you updated as soon as possible. So definitely subscribe to our channel, and we'll keep you updated as we can. If you're still interested in what's going on in Mr. T and Mrs. T, and then Mrs. Minnesota, I guess. I don't know what we call it, but
Sounds like a beauty contest.
yeah, it does, doesn't it? All right. And let's move on to some exciting news in the Eagle Cam world. We have two nests that have four eggs. And unlike our nest a few years ago in Thousand Islands that we had in our program, these are exclusively two eagles. So, these two female eagles amazingly laid four eggs, which does not happen. It's super, super rare. And that just that taps out their resources, because that's a lot of energy to produce four eggs.
And I'm a little sleepless at the moment. So, but just to clarify, this is a male and female at this nest, and then there's a male and a female at another state.
Yes, yes.
Both
So this one
females have
is
like,
St. Vrain in Colorado. This
yeah.
is a shot of them together. If you do follow nest cams, this is one of these nest cams that's, I guess the best way to describe it is snake bitten. It really has had some horrible luck throughout the years. So, I'm optimistic that they can produce four to fledge, but
Well, they raised two last year to fledge
yeah,
out of their four.
yeah,
So, I mean, they beat the average
yeah,
of one and a
yeah,
half. But yeah, that was brutal last year,
yeah,
watching the two
yeah,
succumb to heat.
yeah. Unfortunately, I was in Colorado for a while monitoring nests, and the weather can change on a dime, and it's what makes Colorado great, but it also makes it tough for eagles. You have days where you get a foot of snow, and the next day it's 70 and sunny. You get some real strange weather in that area, and unfortunately they got hit with a huge heat wave in a bad time for eaglets, and
Right when
unfortunately
they
didn't make it
hatched.
through. Yeah, so that's the real sensitive time, is right after hatch. If you get some strange weather or some storms or whatever, wind, it can be devastating. It can make the nest lose eaglets, and also have the nest fail outright. So this one's in Colorado. So far, so good. With last check, they're still, and
Yeah,
I think,
nothing to really, know about this nest until around April 5th.
yeah. So
That's
April.
when our first hatch could happen here.
Yeah, so just a little refresher. It's usually about 30 to 35 days from the egg being laid. Around that time period, it varies a little bit, but that's usually when they start hatching. So we should have more information into April. So that'll be interesting to watch that one. And then this is not a great shot. Actually, I'll move to this one. This is the Pennsylvania nest that has four, the PA Farm Country nest that's on a nest cam. I'll let Beth knows this one a little bit better, so I'll let her explain what's going on currently.
It's hard to see, but there are two more eggs in that nest. So the first eaglet is, as always, the more aggressive eaglet about getting fed. I knew the second eaglet had hatched, but it was kind of down like in a deep well in the bowl. and I had not seen it get fed, so I got up early this morning to make sure that second eaglet was alive and well and getting fed. And it's not as an aggressive eater as number one, but boy, did I see it take a huge gulp of food
Yeah.
from mom this morning. So she is fending for herself really well. But all I could really, imagine is how sticky that nest is right now and how badly it smells because there was just goo going everywhere this morning
Yeah.
with that feeding. But both look great. So we're looking for a pip on egg number three. And then a few days after that, egg number four. So hopefully all goes well. Mom really does a good job of making she has good coverage over these eaglets and keeps the grasses fluffed up around it really or around them really nicely and a nice deep bowl. So
Yeah.
it was good to see them being well cared for this morning.
Yeah, it's a good looking nest. And as we go, just to reiterate, bald eagles hatch, they lay usually one and then wait a day or two, lay another egg, and then so on. And then they hatch that way as well. So right now we have the two eaglets and then we have the two eggs. So we see this a lot. It's kind of a confusing time, especially in the when we're monitoring it from a ways away with a scope or camera or binoculars, because you can't really see all the details. It's nice in the nest cam because it gives you a little more details. Okay, we have two eaglets, we can see them, and then we have the two eggs. So it's a fascinating time, but a sensitive time. So we'll see. Hopefully, fingers crossed, all four hatch and survive. We see this other.
Elf ruler uh says there's I think just a 1% chance of laying four eggs.
Yeah.
But the statistics were RRP had put Elf Ruler's statistics up on their page that four egg nests tend to be actually percentage wise successful, more
Yeah.
successful than two or three egg nests. So I found that kind of interesting, but it's only 1% of nests. Then, I started to think about it and it's like, how do we know? We could
Yeah.
have a lot more four egg nests than we know of. We just don't produce four eaglets out of them.
Yeah. You just
You're never going to know.
there's just not a whole lot of data on it, and you have to, as we do on the nest watches, most times we don't see the eaglets after hatch. We're identifying behavior change to say, hey, okay, they're being fed, they're brooding, they're sitting up higher, and the behavior is different. But we don't usually see the eaglets till 2 or 3 weeks later once they're big enough to be seen, and we just don't know what's going on. So, yeah, it's hard to it's hard to say for sure what the data is on that. The one thing I'll mention with four eaglets is it's got to be a very strong territory to make that many eggs. So it's usually very directly influenced by the prey items in the actual territory. So this territory must be extremely healthy, and it looks like mostly fish. So it's probably a good source of fish, and they'll have enough food and prey items to feed for. But it gets a little bit crazy, and we'll talk a little bit about the Thousand Islands nest and how that kind of went about in our program next. But
These two nests are two adults at each nest, and the female produced four eggs
yeah,
herself.
yeah,
So that's going to be different from what we talk about coming up.
yeah. Let's see here, and we're gonna.
So while Drew's figuring that out, one of the things I'm going to say is you need a really strong pair of parents. Your adults need to understand that, as eaglets grow, they require more food. I think like at Castashi, we've seen in previous years that they don't feed the eaglets enough as they start to grow. So on these four egg nests, the fact that all four fledge is really impressive because to Drew and I, that signals that there was a ton of food in the nest and it was being equally distributed between all four eaglets in order to get non-aggressive behavior between the siblings and to get them all four to fledge. And that's just really cool. And we get to follow two nests that hopefully we see four eaglets fledge out of each of them.
Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about the Thousand Islands nest. We'll have first off, there was a video which shows that there are the three, and you can clearly see in this video that two of them are quite large, and the other one that flies in is quite a bit smaller. So, what we're speculating, again, we can't unless we see them actually copulate or get a like a blood test and can do that, which we didn't. Obviously we didn't have the ability to do either one, but we were thinking that it was two females and one male. So probably what happened was most likely is each one laid two eggs would be my guess, but I guess it could be three and then one of them came in and laid one. So hard to say for sure, but they came up with three eggs. It was either two and two or three and one, or it couldn't really tell you for sure, but they very interesting nests. And then we will show some footage of them almost about to fledge, and there's a great video of all four of them. The nest is extremely small at this point because you have basically four full grown nests. That's way more
Four
eaglets than yeah.
full-grown eaglets in the nest and
Yeah.
three adults trying to bring them food.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
nest, looks like a thimble.
Yeah, like a clown car because it's just
Yeah,
full
it's
of eagles.
it's an eagle clown car.
Yes, yes. So, and they were getting it was fun. I remember because our friends over at Thousand Islands would send us updates quite a bit, and it was just fun to watch these eaglets. They're at the point where they want to fledge, and it's that nest is getting really small. And
They're
as you
bumping into
imagine,
each other, they're slapping
yeah,
each other with a
yeah.
wing.
And this is kind of a near and dear. I'll do a quick thing about this. This is a brand new Eagle Cam out of Vermont. Those that know me, I was born and raised in Vermont, and this is at Vins, which is probably started everything for me in the 80s and 90s. When I grew up, there was just no eagles. If there were, not a lot of people saw them. So if there was any population of bald eagles at that time, it was very small. But
If you
now
grew up
it's
in the 60s and 70s, there were less.
yeah, even less. So the only time that I actually saw a bald eagle in live bald eagle was at Vins. So this is it's a special place for me because it probably really fanned all this stuff I do with eagles is partly due to Vins, because that's where I actually got to see a bald eagle, a real in the live bald eagle at their rehab center. They have rehab birds there. It's a great place if you are in the Quechee, Vermont area. I highly recommend that you go there. It's a great place to go. And now they have an eagle nest there. They're just I think it was like about 3 days they've been incubating, so they're fresh on incubation, and so they'll be, the end of April. We should see a hatch there, so we'll keep an eye on that. I'm really excited about that. It's really exciting to see bald eagles. The population's grown so much, but it's a little extra special in Vermont to see them. So I'm excited about this one and keeping an eye on that. So we'll take a look at this one here and there as well.
Well,
With that,
likewise, Drew, I'm in Illinoisian by birth, and the north side of Illinois is just getting coated in eagles' nests.
yeah,
Whenever I'm down heading into Chicago or stuff, if I take local side roads, it's amazing how many bald eagle nests. And I figure a lot of them were our eagles that we have, at the beginning of this program, the BENW, they're coming back within 100 miles of their natal area and nesting. So we're seeing our second generation and are almost ready to see our third generation coming back. So
yeah, it's exciting because with
so
yeah, as you
Illinois, you
said,
can thank Wisconsin.
yes, and as we've always bragged, Wisconsin has one of the biggest population, healthiest nesting populations in the country, at least in the lower 48. So they will, start moving into Illinois more and more. So that's really exciting. Okay, and next we're going to talk about a little bit about the bald eagle nest watch. We had some serious weather the last week and a half, Beth, to two
Yeah,
weeks.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know. It's been
yeah, it feels like
pretty
ever.
consistent that we've had some pretty, if not heavy rains or heavy snow, it's heavy winds. And, wind is just as bad as, or if not worse.
Yeah. Yeah, so just a little update on my territory. I do most of the southern, and then Beth does this southeastern part of Wisconsin. I lost, I think, in my territory about 10 nests. Unfortunately, a lot of them came down in this really high winds. And then we got hit with some snow after that and lost a few others after that. And unfortunately, it's like a bad time for this to happen. We either had them just hatching or on eggs. So when you do that this late in the season, it's pretty much lights out on the season. There's not a lot of time to do a relay or reclutch and also rebuild the nest because a lot of them
Right.
lost just the complete nest out of the
Well,
tree.
and in
So
some areas we got 2 feet, even 3 feet of snow. So if you're an
yeah,
eagle on that nest, you've got to be able to breathe. And, snow is a great insulator, but n not at that amount.
yeah,
That's,
especially when it's that heavy.
yeah,
These nests are extremely heavy as they, keep adding on to it every year. And some of those nests are, thousands and thousands of pounds. And then you add snow on top of that. So, that's the problem. That was a really, really tough time. And as Beth and I were talking, we're probably at our fail rates. Usually a typical year is like 10 to 15% fail rate is a normal year, and we're probably already at that.
we're at 10 for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Beth, you lost what, four nests, four or five?
We lost,
So
I think we lost five, but
yeah,
which puts us at the 10% ratio. But yeah, we lost like one in four different counties,
yeah,
and mostly due to wind. And, eagles are, I was referencing them to a new watcher that I was with yesterday. I'm like, they're sort of the cardinals of the nest building world. They can build a really bad nest.
yeah,
Cardinals just are not great at building nests, where robins,
yeah.
you
They
know,
make
their nest survives for years.
yeah,
So some of these birds pick dead trees to build these nests in, and they build them in rookeries or where there's a marsh, so the tree does not have a good root system. And then, it doesn't even take a huge wind, and we've had 60 mile, 70 mile per hour gusts. So that'll take down one of those nests, especially when it's so top heavy with a bald eagle nest then in a bad tree. So,
yeah. And on top of that, you can imagine when you have gusts that much in a big bird like a bald eagle, it is really hard to get back to the nest. So if they left the nest, I saw that a lot in Colorado. We'd get those bursts of high winds, and they just couldn't get back to the nest. It's hard to land this large bird on an eagle nest when you have 70, 60, 70 mile an hour winds. So that's another factor. Even
yeah,
if they do, and we had a couple fail, probably due to that. The nest was fine, but if they leave the nest for a little bit, which they periodically do this time of year, they can't get back to the nest just because the wind's gusting so much, and you can't really hone in on the nest. So
yeah,
that's another factor in it. And then there was this huge snowstorm after, so it was a rough go for us. And just wanted to show some pictures. These are best pictures, so I'll let you kind of explain what's going on in these. So
this was we lost nest, which and some of our nests that we lost towards the end of last season, we were up there again last season with nest loss. All of the eagles almost rebuilt immediately, except for there's one nest that we haven't been able to find. So that's always a problem after a nest comes down, is did they shift their territory at all? But at the same time, we are always adding new nests. So this is a nest that's maybe 3 miles from my house. So I'm pretty excited about it. I've seen them, and I've tried to follow them, but wasn't successful. And then the nest got turned in, which was great because they are really an attractive looking pair. The female's on the top, the male's on the bottom. He's a 4-year-old, so he's turning 5. So she's a little bit more mature than he is, a little bit older. But I believe I've been there 3 times over the last 3 days, and they're not there. So
Yeah.
they played house.
Yeah.
Um, so hopefully we'll see them back next year.
Yeah.
And playing house is a term that Drew has coined
Yeah.
for when eagles aren't quite ready to nest yet.
Yeah, they're practicing. They're practicing that first year. And just to expand on what how Beth knows that the male is younger, you can kind of see some spotting, and we
Yeah.
kind of call it a dirty head. So he's still got some. He's not clear white, and his beak's got some shading on it too. That's an indication that it's a younger bird that just got that adult plumage. So that's usually what we use to say, okay, this is a younger bird. So that's how we do that. And
And
I'm going to
once they
caution.
have full plumage, full color plumage, then you have no idea how old the bird
Yeah,
is.
yeah, you can't figure it
It
out
could be
unless you.
20, it could
Yeah,
be 7.
yeah. But and I'm going to caution people if they don't want to see some carnage from these nests. We took some, or actually, one of Beth's volunteers took some pictures, and we're going to show those. So if you don't want to see broken eggs of eagles, please turn it off now or
But
pause it. And
if you had eggs for breakfast this morning, you're not going to see anything.
yeah, it's not any different. But
That's what it looks like.
we just wanted
So,
to let everybody know, not shock anybody that
yeah.
when it toggled through here. So. Um, um,
So we had a nest
we'll do
go
this one. Yep.
down again just a few miles from my home. And the one of the nest watchers, who is an absolute pro and a volunteer, and I think, well, actually, I think she's the secretary of our local Audubon. She took these nests, um, and Drew said, which was funny, how can you be seeing parts of an egg? Because when a nest comes down, it shatters. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not, you don't see generally whole sticks. You just see like
Yeah.
pulverized wood. But she was able to find the 2 eggs. And so these guys were early on in incubating. And the tree did not come down. I wish the tree had come down. It was a bad tree. I don't think they'd leave the property that they're on, but they have better choices of trees on the property. The male started building immediately, and the female was just gone. She was just like,
Yeah.
"It's over."
Yeah.
So Lisa, who took the photos, and thank you, Lisa, for taking
Thank you,
them.
Lisa.
We both laughed at one another that we both wanted to see what it looked like. So the science nerd or whatever it is that drives
Yeah.
some of us, it's like, well, what does the egg look like after it's fallen from the nest? So, at any rate, this was one of the first nests to go down with the bad weather.
Yeah. So we just to expand on what Beth said, like all the nests that I've gone that, I've gotten a call from the owner or the volunteer or whatnot that it's come down. It really does. If you think about it, these nests are up in a tree, typically 80, 90 feet up in the tree. So it comes down hard, and it's usually just a mass of sticks and broken stuff. You usually don't find eaglets unless they're older birds. Um, but yeah, you don't typically find a whole lot of what's going on. So it's kind of interesting that your volunteer found actual egg
Yeah.
parts.
For
So
something that's so massive up in
yeah,
the air,
yeah,
when it lands on the ground, it is
yeah,
anything but massive.
yeah. It just
So
falls apart. So yeah, and they
I
need
remember
those.
calling you and saying, I must have the wrong, I know I'm
Yeah,
under the right tree, but
yeah,
there's just not anything here. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. So.
it's all dried dead sticks. So that the force of that coming down and the weight of it just,
Yeah,
yeah.
and the structure of it's very linked to the branches that they build on. So when it comes down, it just you know
Yeah.
it's not like for example, you talking about robin eggs when they use the mud and everything they build
Yeah.
it. Eagles don't do that. It's just a pile of sticks that are fitted into the branches of the tree. So it just it goes. It's not you're not going to find a perfectly shaped like nest on the ground. It's just going to be a mess. So
Yeah.
and then your next picture is just kind of showing.
So this is
It's a fun
another new
picture.
nest, and we uh I was laughing with the other nest watcher for
Yeah, it's
this
right
nest
here if you can see it.
yep,
Just so
who's a
people.
pro too, and she's like, I just don't believe there's anything in the nest, and I'm like, oh, there's something in the nest. I found
Yeah,
it, but good grief. I mean,
yeah,
some of these eagles really like to hide, and
yeah,
this just it always cracks me up when I feel like I'm being watched. And I'm sitting in my vehicle. It's not like I'm, in
yeah,
this case, I was, you know, using my vehicle as a blind. But boy, she knew I was there.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
They,
and I'm quite a distance in order to get this photo. But this one, she's in the nest, she's incubating. And as you know, Drew, it is the nest tree is 10 feet off the side of a house
yeah,
in a very compact neighborhood. There's workmen working on the house, so she's hunkered down.
yeah. And they'll do
She's
that
getting
for for example, with all the wind that we had
yeah,
recently and storms, they'll hunker down as well for that to
yeah.
kind of get out of the elements. So yeah, they it makes it difficult this time of year, and when we find and I get a lot of calls. Oh, I don't know where they were incubating last week, but they disappeared, and hopefully it's because they've sat so far down that they're kind of hiding, but that that happens quite a bit. So, and now we're going to move on to let's end the pod on a fun note. Beth recently went to Florida, so I'll let her talk, but I'll kind of um, run the pictures. But so
Yeah.
what's going on here? I guess give the
Well,
viewers a
this
little
it's just a great white
what you're
egret,
doing. Yeah.
an offspring, and God, I didn't know they had green skin. I don't know if you did, but
That's so
that was
interesting. Yeah.
that was a shocker.
Yeah.
But another nest watcher, Ginny, invited Ken and I down. Her and Dale invited us down to see some different kind of birds, and we went with Ginny to some of her Florida nests because she also does Florida while she's there before she returns to Wisconsin to pick up sort of midstream the nests that she has up here. So this guy, this little dude though, cracks me up. It looks like he has on like a little white suit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That's so funny.
and boy, their necks are really stretched. They have just, even as, 2-week-old hatchlings, they have really long necks.
Yeah. And he's got some good hair too.
He
It's all
does.
over the
He
place.
is one hot looking little dude. So this is a nest of two of them. Um, so I really like this photo of these two guys in this nest. And if you see that black thing in the background, like on the far right side, that's actually the wing of a black crowned night heron that's
Oh,
nesting right there in the flip side of the palm. These guys are so densely packed where they find a place where they like to nest, and it's a ton of species of birds. The wood storks are like at the highest level, and then these guys were right at eye height off a boardwalk. So you couldn't get any closer to them than the boardwalk, which is good because
yeah.
some photographers would get too close.
And just to reference bald eagles, one thing, we're bald eagle lovers, but unfortunately, when a bald eagle goes into the neighborhood of a rookery, it's not good. So hopefully, hopefully, no bald eagles find this area and stay out of the area.
Well, yeah, there's
'Cause-
two nests in this rookery, so
yeah, yeah.
they're
So
bald eagles are there, but boy, there's
yeah,
just a lot to
yeah,
choose from.
yeah,
So, I mean, there were rabbits, there was, everything was in this.
yeah,
Um, this one, I believe, is the Orlando wetlands where
yeah.
we were at, and same for the picture that you were going to.
Actually, I think let me go back. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we'll go to spoonbills now.
Yeah. Um,
I'm super jealous. I'm gonna say right off. This is like definitely one of on my list birds. I've seen spoonbills, in zoos and aviaries and other places, but I've never seen them in the wild. So I got to get back down to Florida, and
you need to
during
get Ginny
nesting
to invite
season.
you down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, well,
But
these birds make me think of Steven Spielberg just recently said, oh, we are not alone. I don't
yeah,
think we're alone on this planet. And the first thing I thought of was spoonbills.
yeah.
They're just
It's funny. You can kind of start even with these guys so young. You can kind of see that flattening of the bill. It's so cool.
right.
Yeah.
So this was when we first got down to Florida, and then I think the next picture is 1 week later when we were
Yeah.
leaving. We stopped by to see them again, and their spoonbills were really taking shape. Sadly, there were three in this nest,
Oh, okay.
but only two
Yeah.
made it.
Actually, let me. Which one? Where do you want to go here?
Oh,
This
that
one?
one is so that's a week later.
Okay. All right.
Um, so it's they, you could sit there and watch them grow, and I see those
Wow.
pin
That's
feathers coming out,
yeah.
and I just think, oh, those poor kids, they need Advil. That's gotta be
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
It's so cool to see like 1 week time to see how much
It
eagles grow
huge
large too.
difference.
But yeah, it's so cool.
And same thing with eaglets. When they get all those pin feathers, I just
Yeah.
feel bad for them. So I thought this was really interesting. This was, I believe, Dad coming home. And look at Mom, head back, beak
Yeah.
open, eyes shut. She was just vocalizing. And then, I mean, they just, the only thing you can say in human terms is kind of cuddled.
Yeah.
So I try not to anthropomorphize, but there is always seeming a celebration
Yeah.
when the family reunites.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very cool. And then this one, this is probably my favorite picture. It's just like
I love this.
flyby, and the other one's like, oh no.
It was the afternoon, and there's all of these dead palm trees. Um, and I don't know why. In the morning, everyone was it's sort of active, but in the afternoon, it's like a roseate spoonbill went to the top of every dead palm tree.
Hmm.
And so I thought this was going to be a contested, nope, that's my palm tree, but
Yeah.
it was a flyby, and I got to tell you, um, I'm really excited whenever I get anything in focus. The
Yeah.
fact that
Yeah.
I
For
got
sure.
this in focus, because
Especially
I
in
don't
flight.
know if all
Yeah.
photographers are like me, but the percentage of things that I get in focus and the way I want them to be is minimal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I'm gonna have to blow this up and
Yeah. No, that's a really it's a really cool picture with the action of the flying and
the
um
light in their eyes and
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so as I said, I'm super jealous of that. We'll do in our next pod we'll highlight some more of your trip. Just because we had so much going on this week, and then we'll highlight some other stuff. But anything else, Beth, you want to mention?
No, just well, I do want to mention that Larry and I have been in contact.
Okay.
He does not want to appear on the podcast, but
Which
he
is which
is,
is perfect. Yeah, we
yep,
don't. Yeah,
he probably sees some of our comments and
yeah,
doesn't want to get in the mix of that. Our unhappy watchers. But he is going to do a write-up and put some pictures together and explain what he thinks is going on. So we will, I think you and I are reconvening on Wednesday, and so
yeah.
that's
So our next, keep an eye out for that next pod. We'll highlight the Trumpolo nest again and get Larry's input. That'll be really interesting to hear what he's seeing. So yeah, stay tuned for that one. Again, subscribe so you get the updates because I think we're going to be the only pod only information for Trampolo for that nest. I know a lot of there was a high profile Trampolo Facebook group, and they have paused it right now because it's not on the Eagle Cam, which is unfortunate. But we'll try to keep people updated. I know there's definitely a connection for a lot of people with Mr. and Mrs. T, and it's very
Yep.
interesting nest. So we'll
It
try to
is
keep it
a
going as much as we can.
very interesting nest for all involved. So I'm sure
Yeah,
RRP is trying to figure out a way to get the new nest on
yeah,
camera, even if it's from a distance,
yeah,
just to track Mr. T and what he's up to.
yeah,
But for those of you who know Larry, and we said it earlier on the first segment of the podcast, but Larry regularly was posting photos to that group, and a lot of people know Larry because of his diligent observations.
yeah,
He is now part of the BENW, and so he is regularly updating. He has to do a weekly observation for each of the nests for 1 hour each. So he's going to put together his synopsis of what he thinks is happening, and
yeah.
he's going to be the best thing going
Best
for
source.
knowing
Yeah,
what
yeah, for
Trempealeau is
sure.
doing.
Yep, yep. So
So we thank you, Larry.
yeah, yeah. And as I said, like, subscribe. You can also reach us at Nesting Eagles Podcast at gmail.com. We're also on Facebook and sort of on Instagram. I'm trying to build that up, but so find us there, and we'll be back probably next week sometime, and with an update and some more content.
And
And
there should be the third egg should have hatched,
yeah,
certainly in Pennsylvania of the four egg nest. So
yeah, that's going to be very interesting. Watch
it's
those.
gonna,
So fingers crossed, everything goes well for them
yeah.
this week, and we'll have positive information on like some of the stuff that's going on in Wisconsin. But it is what it is. It happens a lot with the Eagles, unfortunately. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Bye bye.